Hey Kurt, how's it going?
It's going fine.
Good.
How are you doing?
Excellent. Speaker, get a little louder. Now everybody's starting to come. We're about 4 minutes, 5 minutes from getting started, but we'll get there. I see Miss Ann just joined us. Hey, Miss. So good to see you.
So Samantha, I'm sorry. Um, we will
Yes.
I'll probably have um Bob. I think our Bob's probably gonna join. I
Okay,
know Beth Griffin,
good.
our secretary, she's gonna join.
That's excellent.
So
Happy to have them.
I got completely rained on at the lake today. Took the boat
Oh
out
no.
and yeah, got a good washing today.
That's good. You probably needed it. It was your monthly shower.
What?
Kurt, I've been saving every one of your weekly reports and stuff about what y'all are doing with your COVID call center and everything. So I keep track of all that good stuff.
Yeah, yeah, our team is small, but I swear, our secretary is her and her husband are Beth and Dennis. They're super.
That's great.
They're the ones that they headed this up with the Lincoln County Health Department rep. She was tasked with coming up with the call center, and Beth took the lead on it and just is smoking the whole thing.
I
So
love it. I love it. That's awesome. I like it when you have a volunteer that has like their pet project and you don't even have to worry about it. They just take care of everything and yep.
Thanks
That's
for
I went,
good words, Kurt.
yep, it's good. Oh,
good
there's
job, Beth.
Right.
Y'all are doing great stuff.
it's all her.
That's awesome.
That lady right there
We've got a
is
good team of volunteers and no trouble keeping it staffed.
That's wonderful. I don't know if you heard me tell Kurt, but when y'all send out your weekly reports of everything you're doing, I save all of those. I keep records of like everything. So I love to see that. It's awesome. All right, we're getting a few more folks in now. Good to see so many familiar faces here. Hope everybody's doing well. Jay just walked in. Say hey, Jay.
Hey, Jay.
Hey, Samantha.
Everybody's saying hey. Hey, how are you,
Hey,
Linda?
good. I'm at a visitation, but I'm getting ready to go to the line,
Oh,
and then I'm out. But Veronica McLeod is on the line with
hey.
us from Lumberton. Okay.
Yes, that's fine. Hey,
Okay.
Veronica.
Hello.
Hey. Yeah, that's Melody. That's the top of Melody's head. Hi, Andy. I see you. Well, it is 6:30 straight up. Yes, I just got an email and I want to be sure it's not somebody who's like trying to log in. Okay, it's not. So hey everybody. I'm glad to see y'all here for our second CERT forum for program managers. So we do have a little bit of an agenda and some guest speakers tonight, and then we will wrap up the evening with Q&A, and it doesn't have to be about our topics. It can be really about anything CERT related, whatever questions you have or anything. And along the way, if you have any questions for our speakers, please don't feel shy about speaking up, or if you want to use the WebEx little raise your hand, you can do that, or you can also type in the chat. Andy, are you going to help me monitor chat? He's
Sure.
my chat guy, and I'll watch it when you're presenting, so we can back each other up there. But I'm just going to go ahead and dive right in and get started. So our theme for this evening is tools for teams. I can't even say it. But I want to welcome our first speaker. His name is John, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name. I will let him introduce himself, but he is with Verizon Crisis Response, and I wanted you all to hear about the kinds of things that Verizon could provide for your CERT program should you need it. So we will start with John. And John, do you are you doing a PowerPoint or anything? Are you just talking to folks?
I'm going to share a couple different things. Okay to fill the screen?
Yep. Yeah, I'm making you presenter right now. All right, you are a presenter.
Do you see anything right now on your screen?
Not yet.
See here.
Oh, there we go. Now it says you're starting to share. And I'm going to stop my video so I'm not in the way. There we
So
go.
are you all seeing a screen
Yes.
that has, it's like a flyer? Is that?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So first of all, thank you all for having me. I tried to get my camera to work, but it said it's got another program running it. So I'm not real sure what's going on there. But I am the Verizon Crisis Response Manager. I'm responsible for North and South Carolina. And we're a relatively small and nimble team. So there's 15 of us across the company that do this job. And we are really the folks that kind of jump in first when an event happens. So we handle a multitude of different things. And the reason I had asked Samantha after our last call with you, she asked if there's anybody that wanted to speak and talk about anything that they're doing. And I really think that this might hit home for some of you. If nothing else, it gets us on the same page as to what we can offer. But Verizon has started this team about 2 years ago now. And our job specifically, as mentioned before, is to go in first. So you think of like a hurricane, a tornado, you think of a missing child. Lately, we've been relatively inundated with the COVID response. I was just up in Virginia helping their territory a couple days ago for the governor's announcement. So we do a big swath of things.
You're going to
when
listen?
it comes down, there's some main things that are you able to hear me?
Yes. We can hear you.
Yeah, we
She
can
just
hear you.
forgot that she was not muted.
Okay. All right. No worries. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't talking to myself there. But so some of the things that we do, the main thing would be obviously setting a network up. So it might be bringing in, you see the red vehicle on your screen there. We call that a spot. It's a satellite trailer on wheels, basically. And we would bring that in, and that will create a network where there is no network. So you think about that scenario where there's a missing child, for example, and they need to have that mission critical communications. We would come in with that to help them out. It might be coming in and providing devices. So you think about scenarios where you've got a volunteer effort or you've got a known event coming up, or again with COVID, we'd come in and we'd put a cradle point in, which is a router of sorts, or we'd provide phones or provide MiFi jetpacks to provide internet. It might be simply providing charging. In a lot of scenarios, charging is that important to folks. The tornado that hit out on the coast, what was it, a month ago now, a month ago? I was out there working with the folks that were displaced because of that hurricane, or because of that tornado rather, and we were offering the ability of just charging your cell phone. And you would think that that was everything, because these folks had nothing left at that point. We do a little bit with voice over IP, which you think about the landline phones that you have. Well, if an event happens where everything's shut down, we would come in with the potential of setting up a command center. During the tornado that hit Alabama last, go figure it, again, they're getting hit today, but the ones that were just recent, we were able to stand up a 911 center with having our voice over IP phones set up, and that was able to reroute the 911 calls, and it actually ended up saving a life. So those are some of the stuff that really makes me passionate about what we do. We also are getting more inundated in the drone program. So most of us are now carrying our 107 license, which is an FAA license to fly drones commercially. And that can kind of go twofold. One being, you know, if a first responder is trying to locate someone or trying to figure out where there's downed trees or what's going on, we could help with that. The other side of it is down the road, we'll be able to take more payload on with those, and we'd be able to actually fly a tethered drone that would have network connectivity in the air. So you think about the flooded regions where a generator may have gone underwater, we'd be able to stand that up too. Let me see if I can see if this works for y'all. Can somebody tell me if you can see the response team flyer now? Are you seeing that one?
Sure
Yes.
can.
Okay, perfect. This gives you just kind of a lay of the land. So this is what our team looks like. Again, I'm John Shada, so you see me there out of Cary. But you can see we've got folks covering the entire United States. And if something should occur, we kind of all move in. So we spent a really, really long time this past year in Louisiana. And Lord help us that does not happen again. They took their fair share last year. But we would all move in and then help on the outskirts. So we come in and support the EOCs, and we would come in and help the shelters, help Red Cross, just a multitude of different things to help out in the event of an emergency. And then this gives you a better idea of what it looks like for how we operate. So during blue sky events, or blue sky days, I should say, we're working with folks like yourself. So working and having these conversations, making sure that people know what we're capable of, what we do. We're managing our inventory, making sure everything's ready. We'd be going in and doing a response. So we'd work with first responders, emergency operations. I do a lot in North Carolina, specifically with ESF2 with Greg Hauser. I'm sure y'all probably know that name. So I attend a lot of his calls, and he brings me up to speed on what's going on. I am in your web EOC. If things come up, I get notified that way. But we would go out, do deployment. We'd recover our stuff. We'd go back in, get what we need back, and then it's a kind of a rinse and repeat. So making sure all of our stuff's charged, ready to go, making sure everything we have is right sized for devices. But that's kind of our job from a 5,000 foot view. Obviously, there's a lot of different things that come into play as you're in a response, but just wanted to put that out there again. I don't know if some of the stuff's hitting home and you're going, man, if I had known this, I would have contacted. And keep in mind, my role within Verizon, so I've been with Verizon almost 14 years now, and most of that was on the sales side. So I'm used to, toting the Verizon flag. But in this situation, we're relatively carrier agnostic. So when an event happens, I don't care if you're an AT&T customer. I'm coming in and I'm going to help you. Our goal is the citizens at that point. We want to make sure that first responders are safe and the citizens are able to get through to the first responders. So it's really kind of a special job within Verizon, because obviously most are toting that red flag and trying to sell, whereas my job is to make sure things work. And another good example would have been the governor's conference earlier this week. So we go up, he signs they abolished the death sentence. I didn't even know what we were going in for at that point, but we were able to set up communications where a text message wouldn't even get out by the correction center that we were at. We were able to put one of those trailers I showed you earlier up, as well as a Cradle Point router, and we were able to not only connect the press with internet, but we were able to provide a live stream to where they were able to live stream the event as it was happening. So just again, we've got a lot of different tools, kind of a Swiss Army knife, if you will. But does anybody have any questions? Did that paint a pretty good picture of what we do?
Hey, John, it's Samantha. It paints a great picture about exactly what you're doing. And I just wanted to clarify, because I know you said usually people are selling, and you just want to help. Does that mean, are you saying that these services are available at no cost during a disaster?
That is correct.
Wow.
That is correct. Yeah, this is something. Even the phones, if the phones should need to go out, obviously we want to manage that because we only have so many devices at our disposal as a team. So we try to really manage and make sure that what the need is and where we need to go with it. But yeah, it's no cost. Those go on our demo account for Verizon, so you wouldn't pay for that. Same thing goes with the Cradle Points. There's no cost. We try to keep these events within about a 14-day reach, so that way we're really managing those devices as they're out in the field. Some of the COVID stuff obviously is stretched a little bit, and simply because there's so many unknowns. You've got a shot that happens this weekend. Well, that same mass vac site is going to have to come back up in a month later, so that way they can do the second shot. So it's stuff like that that's helping, that's getting us to be creative as to how we're handling it. But yeah, no cost. This is something that we do for the community.
So I have another question, and I want other people to ask questions too. I don't mean to monopolize your time, but so that's for disasters and emergencies. What about training events?
So yeah, we'd love to participate. So I will give you the caveat of that. So training events and stuff like that, we love to come out and help. We do some with, in fact, I had a call earlier with National Guard, with some of the captains there that they're running a couple different events, one in Virginia and one here in Fort Bragg in June and July, and we are going to help participate at those and help stand them up. The caveat to it, to make sure that everybody's on the same page, a hurricane happens and we might have to bug out. Because again, with only so many devices, we have to go where the need is the most. But yeah, I would, if you've got something coming up, if you want to, see more of what we can bring to the field, we love just getting out and testing our stuff. I mean, a lot of times, you get stuff out of a closet for a little bit, and it just, not only to get your blood boiling again, but you also make sure that things are working how they're supposed to. So yeah, we're absolutely there to help.
Oh, that's really cool. I wasn't aware that you would even do that, for training, because that could be a really huge thing. I know that my husband Jay is here with me, and we're both also active in search and rescue. And he said he spoke to you at a SAR event down in Pender County, I guess in January or something. So he was familiar with this. Yeah, that's great that you all are doing that.
Yeah, we do a lot with the search and rescue teams. That seems to be a pretty common one. And prior to the COVID mess, we used to do a lot more, as you can probably imagine. But we used to go out and this is still kind of foreign, even though we're essential employees. It's kind of foreign land, even though it's been about a year. But when that frees back up, we were doing a lot of the events where they would do like high-speed boats and helicopter drops and all that kind of stuff out in the different areas, and we come in and we provide network for that. So it's definitely something we're involved in.
Anybody else have questions for John?
John, I have one for you. What is your typical deployment once a determination is made that your equipment would help out with an ongoing incident?
So we are a 24/7, 365 team. So if something comes up, if there's not a risk to travel, we will jump in and head that way. Great example, those Alabama tornadoes that just hit. We have two guys moving in, Trent Griggs from the maps there that you see, and Chris Sanders are both moving their way in to help right now. But they had to wait until the storm passed them to where they could safely do so. So normally we're on top of it. And again, we've got to prioritize. So if this is something where you're like, hey, we've got a community event coming up and it starts tomorrow, I wish I'd called you, it might be tougher, right? But if it's something saying that it's a natural disaster, it's a missing child, something like that, we are on it. We are going to get to it as soon as we possibly can. And that 800 number you see in the middle left of your screen, that's a good 800 number for you to take down. That is the main way of reaching. Obviously, you can reach out to me and I can pass you this info after the fact. But if you call that 800 number, if it's an event going on, they'll be able to route it correctly. And other things that, and I don't even know if I brought this up, but there non-events that we work on too, right? For example, Carolina Country Music Festival, we got a request in, 2 days ago about that as a coming up event. And it's just because that network gets deteriorated during that event. So those are things we ask, give us some time. So if you know it's an event coming up, give us some time and get it in there so that way we can pre-plan for it.
John, this is Ann from Washington County. I was going to ask you if you will actually come out to make a presentation to a public safety committee, or we could do it virtually.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to reach out to me after, I'm happy to talk through this with whoever you would like.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Absolutely.
Hi, this is Beth from Lincoln County. I was just wondering what triggers a deployment? Does the emergency manager call Verizon?
So yeah, thank you for the question, Beth. Yeah, if you call, they would call that 800 number, and that's typically going to get everything. It'll get all the balls in motion at that point. So you'll call in. That's 24/7. That line's open. Call in, let them know what's going on, where it's happening, and that would trigger us deploying. Through Web EOC, if it's entered in Web EOC, it gets to Greg, and Greg would contact us. In fact, Greg contacted us about that tornado that had happened, I think it was Brunswick County. But the tornado that happened about a month ago, Greg reached out to both Earl, who's my boss, and myself, and we were able to get there first thing in the morning.
So you do coordinate with the emergency management?
Yes, yeah. We coordinate with them and figure out where base camps are being held. Typically, that all goes through Greg Hauser, who's the SWIC for North Carolina. Typically, he's the one that kind of gives us a little heads up on where we're going. But yeah, we'll drop in, even during tornadoes and whatnot, we'll drop in EOCs in the area and just do health checks to make sure everything's going well. Just another kind of thing, as we're driving home even, we'll drop in and just make sure all the needs are met. And I'm sorry if I'm giving you long-winded answers there. I just want to make sure I'm clear on everything for you.
Oh, that was a good answer. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for John? And this is just a fantastic resource that's available to the responder community. So I hope everybody has written down that 800 number, and make sure that your county emergency managers are aware of this too. And already we know that Ann's going to have him down to Washington County, so they'll be prepared with communications for the next disaster. So that's great. And John, I really want to thank you for joining us this evening. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely, and thank you for having me. I really appreciate being in attendance in this meeting too. So hopefully you don't mind if I hang around, and I'll listen to the other members of the meeting here. But yeah, if anybody has any questions or anything, don't hesitate. Please reach out and let me know. I'm happy to help wherever I can.
Great, thank you so much. You're more than welcome to stay as long as you want. Thanks for being here.
Wonderful, thank you.
All right, cool beans. Wow, that's just an incredible resource, you guys. And of course, the best part about that for our regular CERT budgets is the price for that, right? So you really can't beat that. And thank you, Verizon, for offering that service to first responders. That says a lot about, you know, how they feel about the community. And I think that's really great. So our next speaker is also John, but a different John. And I think he's on here. So I'd ask you to, and I don't want to mispronounce your last name either, so I will let you take the reins. Let me see if I can, let me make you a presenter, and we will turn it over to you. He is going to tell us about a great program called Merit. And some of you may be familiar with Merit. If not, you're about to be, and I think you'll be really impressed. So John, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi everyone, I'm John Topete. I will turn the camera off so as to not distract you as I'm trying to figure out my PowerPoint presentation. But it is always great to be able to talk to another large CERT team members. We've been working with CERT as Merit for a while now, a few years. We've been involved with the National CERT Association, online CERT Academy, for any of you that have taken any of those courses, and with really a variety of emergency service organizations across the country. So just a basic overview of what Merit is. We are, if I can get this to work. All right, so we're a platform for verified identity. We're free, kind of like Verizon's presentation. The service they provide is amazing, and we partner a lot with. Actually, we're using Verizon quite a bit right now, so much so that they had to run another credit check on our on our company because we were using so many devices. But we're currently in Florida right now with the helping out the Florida Division of Emergency Management get their volunteer and paid nurses that they have across the state doing vaccination and testing. We're helping them track hours. So we are a platform for verifying identity, and we just kind of help out organizations keep track of all their individuals' credentials, certifications, and also provide that to the individual themselves. So it's not just the organization that keeps track of it, but the individual that has access to it in one simple location. So the obvious benefit is as people move from place to place, their information, their credentials becomes easily verifiable. So the time tracking thing is very important. We have a separate app that kind of connects with ours, or not kind of, it connects with ours. It's part of our kind of small app ecosystem that we've developed, and it's called Merit Check-in, and that allows organizations like yours to track hours. Obviously, with the responses that you normally have to do, that you have to coordinate, there's a lot of hours during the actual response. After the response, there's spontaneous volunteers, and there's also training hours. There's a lot of hours. And why are those hours important? Well, because you guys know more than anyone else, speaking of those small budgets that you have, hours can turn into dollars. Right, so those volunteer hours are ways that your organizations can get reimbursed from either the state or the federal level to help offset the costs that are necessary for you guys to operate, not just for equipment, but for all the other training and support expenses that you provide to all your volunteers. So obviously, a tremendous value to be able to have somebody quickly check in, check out, not have piles and piles of paper sign-in sheets that individuals then have to, probably one of you has to then translate and transcribe into something that's legible for you to get the appropriate reimbursement, right? And considering how much each volunteer hour is worth, that can be very important, especially when you're trying to coordinate a large-scale response. So there's different phases to Merit. We are kind of a proactive year-round approach, right? It's not just the response, the action of individuals going out to the locations and helping out and participating, but it's also comes way before that with their digital credentials, their training, and interoperability, which is key for a state that's large, but also requires sometimes people from other areas, other certs to come by and participate as well. One of the things that takes the longest sometimes can be the validation of somebody else's credentials that's coming from an organization outside of yours, right? So having the ability to quickly validate somebody's credentials, if they're in Merit, it's easy to pass that information over instantly and verify that, yeah, you are who you say you are. You have the certifications that you say you have, and I can start using you in an appropriate capacity, right? So it makes that process a little bit simpler, especially when it comes to working with people from across the state from different organizations. So again, we also connect other agencies together. So we're not specific to emergency management. We're not specific to CERT. We have, issued training certificates or licenses, occupational licenses for every person in the state of Virginia, for example. So anybody that has an occupational license, from an architect to an engineer to a cosmetologist in the state of Virginia, has a digital license through Merit. We've also partnered with organizations that like skydiving, right? So if you're a skydiver and you're a part of the a member of the U.S. Parachute Association, then you also have your certifications through Merit. What was that?
Oh boy, okay, 1 second. Guys, if you're not speaking or asking a question, can you please mute your microphones? I mean, if you do have a question, that's cool, but otherwise, I want to make sure everybody's muted. Thanks.
So that's the basic gist of what Merit is. I didn't want to get into too much detail of the app, but I'm more than happy to, if you would like a very personal demo, a walkthrough of the app and how to use it. We are more than happy to walk you through step by step, help you set it all up, and provide you with any assistance that you might need to get your organization using it and using it the most effective way possible. Again, we work with CERT organizations across the state. We have friends in California, in New Jersey, down in Florida, all across the state that are using Merit, and we help them in their own unique ways, whatever it is that they might need or might be able to better use Merit for. We're more than happy to help. Again, this is a no-cost software. None of the software or the help that you would receive from me is any cost to you.
Thank you so much, John, for that overview of Merit. I first became aware of Merit in 2019, I think. Was that when you first did like the Florida CERT conference, maybe? And
we were out there in 2019.
Yeah, I first saw it there, and I've been playing around with it. We do use it some as Apex CERT for keeping track of different trainings and so forth. And I really do want you all to become familiar with this, because we're going to start using this across North Carolina. We're working on some CERT SOGs. They're actually with our legal counsel right now, so that we can actually have a way that I can deploy you guys in a better, more efficient way across the state. And part of that will be verifying what trainings you've had. And so I want you all to make sure that you check out Merit, because you will be getting merits for trainings that you've done. And John, it's just merits.com with an S, right? Is your website?
Yes.
Yeah. So merits.
The website is merits.com. And you can email me at john@merits.com. And any resources or information or step-by-step, I'd be more than happy to schedule some time with any one of you individually or as a group and walk through the product or any questions you might have.
And what's so cool about it to me is, I mean, I find it to be a pretty simple program to use. It's not hard to learn, and you can make your own merits. So even if you were using it for your local team and you want to give everybody a merit for attending your monthly training, you can make a merit for that, like attended our April meeting, and then you can just issue that merit to everyone that was there. And the other thing that John mentioned is tracking volunteer hours for reimbursement from FEMA. And I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but in the last couple of years, FEMA has gone to sort of like a deductible system like you have on your insurance, sort of, for how they reimburse states for costs for disasters. And so it's like an 80-20, right? So FEMA pays about 80% and the state is responsible for 20% of the cost of that disaster. Well, there are ways that you can use things like volunteer hours to go against that 20% that the state of North Carolina would have to pay back to FEMA. So if we can track all these hours, like Beth, all those hours you guys are doing out there in Lincoln County in the call center, if we had a really good way that we were tracking and documenting all of those, we could turn that in, and those hours at a rate of $27.20 an hour, that can come off of the state's side of what they have to pay for their, against the response for COVID, for example. And
Yeah,
I tell you
let's
what,
talk about that, because we are keeping track of the hours
Mhm.
and a spreadsheet.
Great. So that's something we could definitely translate into merits, and we'll talk about that, offline together. But like, if you just send me your spreadsheet or something, we can definitely make that happen. And what really excites me about this is, y'all know that sometimes we do have some difficulty getting buy-in from folks to help support a CERT program, or where you can have a county manager or somebody who says, oh, we don't need a CERT program. Well, when you start showing them stuff like this, because, politicians love bottom lines with dollar signs, right? This is how it's a great way to get more support for our CERT program. So we're really going to be seeing a lot more for merit. And I'm totally stealing John's thunder. So, well, what questions do you guys have for John? I don't want to jump in and take that over. Any questions? All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Who was that? Was that Linda? I don't know who was asking a question. Whoever it was, just speak up. Be brave.
Okay, well, this is Beth. I've just always been curious about your business model. Since you don't charge organizations, where does your funding come from?
Well, we don't charge for our product, for the software itself. So a lot of times you may have heard companies, they're called like software as a service, right? So they say, hey, we have a solution for you. Here's the software for the solution. Pay us this much money and then have at it. It's all yours. And then they leave with a product, leave you with a product that you may or may not know what to do with. So for large scale organizations like a state or a large private company that wants us to do the work for them, right? We try to, I think we're coining the term software with a service, right? So we're not charging for the software itself, we're charging for the service of making something happen. So like Florida came to us and said, we want this to happen. We want tablets across the state for nurses to check in and check out of, and you to help us track all that information and provide, but we don't want anything to do with it. You just make it happen. Then that's when we get paid. But for small scale organizations that we provide them with the assistance, the tools, and the ability for them to do it themselves, outside of that, there's no reason to charge for something that you're already doing.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Great question, Beth. There was a question in the chat asking if merits are standardized. And I think, John, the answer to that would be no, right?
There's not really a need to standardize them, because the model is based off of what we call verified identity. So unlike some other social media platforms, where you have for example, a LinkedIn, you can put whatever you want on your LinkedIn profile. It's not verified by anybody. It's just whatever you say. It's called a declarative identity, right? I declare I am this person, I worked here, and this is who I am. Well, verified identity is what we provide, which we verify the organizations themselves that issue the credential. So by verifying the organization and not allowing the individual to really do anything, it's all the merits that they have are based off of whatever the organization that is verified issued to them. So that way, an individual can't share something that wasn't already given to them by an organization that was verified. They can't modify that information. They can't change the expiration date. They can't even change their name on it unless the organization changes it for them. And so that makes sure that it doesn't matter if somebody sends you for example, a CERT Basic certificate from an organization across the state, that it's that organization, wherever they are, they verify that person completed CERT Basic and issued them a credential based off of that. And you know that those standards are pretty much set across the board. So, you know, if it's CERT Basic or if it's CPR or if it's whatever it might be, you're not questioning that you would have to be questioning the organization and whether the organization that issued them is valid, but not so much the certificate itself.
That makes a lot of
if,
sense.
If that helps.
Yeah, it does me. I mean, it makes sense to me. I hope it does for y'all too. So for example, if, you know, Andy out in Chatham County, he wanted to say everybody who just completed basic training, he could have his own account on Merit where if he's the administrator for the Chatham CERT, and then he can issue those merits from Chatham CERT. And so then if, you know, I wanted verification that someone had completed it, Andy could share those merits with me, or an individual could, so that I know, you know, that Chatham CERT verified, yes, they really did complete the class. How does an individual or a group share their merits with another organization? It's a question in the chat.
So within the app, there's a free merit app that you would log into, and you have access to all your own personal merits. Within that app, you can share each one to all your merits with an individual and organization. If you share it with an organization, the added benefit is that organization is able to then save it, right? But you can also share it with an individual, with any individual, and they're given it's basically a link that allows them to see that information that's contained within the merit. And that link expires within 24 hours. So unlike sharing a paper certificate or a copy of a certificate that could be modified or edited or you know, any number of things done to it, photoshopped in order to say a certain thing, this comes directly in a digital form that if it changes or if it updates within that period, then you'll see the change and update. And so you'll know immediately, oh, this is expired, or no, this is actually it's been revoked, or it's invalid, or whatnot.
Any other questions for John?
If I can pitch in
Sure.
very briefly, I'd like to compliment merits on a few features I found very helpful. One is that you can, rather than if you have 20 people attend a class or 20 people participate in something you want to issue a merits on, you can update, instead of creating them individually, you can actually import an Excel spreadsheet and create all 20 at once or 40 at once or whatever you need to. I also like the fact that you can save the merits down to your phone, so that if you're going to an area where, for example, Verizon hasn't gotten that nice trailer there yet, and you're not connected Wi-Fi, you can still share them while offline. You do have to do that before you go offline, but it's a really nice feature, and they've got that check in and check out that also I've not used, but looks pretty good.
Yeah,
And
I have
we're
it.
a big caveat is whatever you see on the platform now, whatever you've used, it's all going to change probably by the end of the year. We're making it better. This platform was kind of built as a pilot platform that we've just kind of kept extending and extending the lifespan of it. And what we're doing right now, what our engineers are doing, are separately rebuilding it on the side to make it much easier, much more friendly for other organizations to be able to tie into as well. So that if anybody else wants to, another software company, another organization wants to quickly tie in, they'd be able to do that almost instantly, and then, you know, tie in various applications so that everything works more seamlessly. And gives the administrator as well as the user more functionality to be able to control the information that they have, and to be able to administer the information and the individuals that they have under within their organization.
That's great. I got a little nervous when you said they were going to change everything, because I really like it.
Yeah.
So
It's just good.
We're just be good.
Yeah, it'll be a lot better, especially from the administrator side. We're trying to make tools to make things a lot easier. And then speaking on the sending multiple, there's also separate automations that we've created. And if you're interested in There's a program called Zapier that we've integrated with recently that allows you to have for example, a Google Sheet that you update information on or add information to, and it automatically would connect and send merits or edit merits based on the information that you added or changed within that Google Sheet. So really, you could just continue working, and adding and changing information within the Google Sheet without ever having to go into Merit, and merits would constantly be sent to those individuals. So
Wow.
it makes the process a little bit easier.
That's very
And
cool.
That's active right now.
Wow. And don't get scared, guys, because it sounds really techy, because it really is easy to use, I promise.
Yeah, we provide all the help and support that you might need, from walking through. I've helped people log into their account and go step by step, one thing at a time, to providing as much or setting things up for them if they need that much help, and saying, hey, here's a basic outline, here's everything that you need to get started, let's get everything going, and then now all you have to do is some simple maintenance or something.
Yeah, excellent customer service. I can attest to that. When I've had questions, people have always gotten back to me very quickly and always very friendly, and they know exactly what I'm talking about, and they can always help me fix it. So they've always been great. Yeah. Y'all have any questions for John? No? All right, well, John, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I really, really appreciate you being here. And everybody go check it out, because you need to get very familiar with merits. We're going to be seeing more of that. So thanks again, John. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. And you're also welcome to stay if you want, or if you don't want, that's fine too. I just want you to feel welcome.
Thank you. As much as I would love to stay, I got to get going on to something else. But thank you so much for your time.
Thanks again. Appreciate it. And I did put his email address in the chat, so if you guys need to contact him at all, he's john@merits.com, and I wrote it in the chat, so you'll be able to copy and paste it from there. Cool beans. Well, y'all do check that out. It's a great program, and I think you'll really enjoy using it. And next, we're going to hear from our own Andy Fauché about groups.io. And Andy, I just made you presenter, so you can share whatever you want.
Okay, thank you. Unlike our first two presenters, A, my name is not John, and B, I'm not actually representing any particular company. Okay, let me see. I can't tell which. Oh, it's not letting me choose which I want to share. Okay, I'm sharing Microsoft PowerPoint. Yes, death by PowerPoint yet again this evening. All right. Which one can y'all see? Can you see?
We're seeing the presenter view.
Presenter view. Yep, that's kind of what I figured. Well, that's easy to take care of.
Flip.
Unplug the spare monitor. There we go. Well, it's either that or I just try one more time. There we go. Okay. The program I'm going to talk about this evening is groups.io. I've got nothing to do with them other than I am a user. Normally I don't start with the history of a company, but I found this very interesting that this particular iteration of the company was started in 2014. It was developed by the gentleman who created the company that Yahoo purchased and rebranded as their own Yahoo Groups. So I found that to be a confidence builder, that somebody who developed the tool that became one of the greatest social forces of its day. Unfortunately, it has since closed down. But what he wanted to do with his second company is to create an advanced email group service that was free for up to 500 members, add optional powerful tools that were easy to use, that were available via subscription, and also then make money based on selling the entire package to larger concerns as an enterprise version. Personally, I find this to be a very useful tool because it is a very good, very easy to use collaborative tool. They've got some robust set of tools. One of the problems I've had as co-director of Chatham CERT is really finding one tool that does soup to nuts. And I found that Groups.io, while it doesn't do everything for us, it really has the potential to do a great deal. Rather than running 3 or 4 programs, we can do a lot of it with this one. You can even have a single point to log in and manage multiple groups. You can even, if you get the enterprise version, they'll give you a single sign in, everything's branded and that sort of thing. In 2019, Groups.io did decide to change the business model, making their premium tools subscription based. It's not advertisement driven. They do not have access to your data other than to as a software as a service. In other words, they can go in and restore your database. They don't go in and do data mining like some of the large search engines that also house some of our data do. When they were transitioning to this new model, they did allow certain existing accounts like Chatham CERT to keep the extra tools that they were offering for free at the time that are now part of a mid-tier level. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. I have been told by their representative that this may change in 2022. It all depends upon how much those of us that are using the free tools, how much of their server space and time they're taking up. If we are using up too much of their bandwidth and such, they will have to start charging us for it. But at the end of 2020, one of the things I liked about the company is that when Yahoo Groups was shelved, they shut it down in December 15th, I think it was, of last year. Yahoo Group subscribers were offered the opportunity to have all of their data, all of their structure, all of their admins, the access rights and everything migrated to Groups.io for free. And it was not Yahoo that was doing it, it was Groups.io that was doing it. And like I said, that was a free service so that people could continue to use what they were accustomed to and do so for free. Okay, while it is limited, it is free. So the free basic group, you've got group email for up to 500 people. You've got fully moderated tools to efficiently run your group. It's actually surprisingly easy to manage up to 500 people on this. You can import all of your members in a spreadsheet. Well, it's a comma delimited file that you export from a spreadsheet, and you have up to 1 gigabyte of storage space. That's not a lot, of course. But if you do want more than that, you can go for just $20 a month. And you can do this on a 30-day free trial, no credit card needed or anything. You've got unlimited subgroups, and I'll show you that in a minute. But you've got a collaborative suite that does polls, calendar, chat, database, photos, files, wikis, the whole 9 yards. You can have your own admins, multiple admins, handle all of the membership management. And the thing I like is you can even accept donations from group members. This is not something where you can tie into PayPal or something and have outside people who are not members assist. But if you do want to accept donations from your group members, you can set that up as well. The enterprise, as you can see down at the bottom, it's $200 a month. I wasn't going to go into that. It's a terabyte of storage, branding, all that sort of things offered. But this is what it looks like. And I'm going to talk about this in just a minute. I'm going to actually do a quick demo. But you can see here where you've got subgroups of what we call Chatham CERT Main on the screen there. Then you've got Chatham CERT XCOM, Mission COVID, Windshield Survey Test. All of these are subgroups where we can take our membership and either the member or the group moderator can go in and assign people to these. So when we have a COVID clinic deployment, we're able to set up a specific mail thread just for those individuals. So we can give them, where is the parking? Where is the location? What are your hours on these particular dates? And all they have to do is respond to that email, and that email goes out to all of the moderators on that subgroup. So it's very easy for everybody. If you do go into the $20 a month, you get all the way from new poll all the way down. You get so much more that you can actually work with. And what I'd like to do is go ahead and demo that right now for you very quickly. Okay, here we are. All right. So as I said, we've got all these different groups. I have CERT NC as its own group that I've set up. We also have CERT NC here as a subgroup. This is my demo. But before we do, I want to point out to you.
Andy, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're still seeing your PowerPoint and not the not that. And I want to see it. Yeah.
Okay. So how then? Let's go to the share menu. There we go. How's that?
Yep, we can see it now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, so as you can see, we have, for example, XCOM, and the last time we used that was just back on March 18. We've got only 7 members of it, but then again, that's just for the Chatham CERT group that also happens to be ham radio operators. Mission COVID, it was last used in November. We've been using other tools for that at this time, but it's one that we started with. Windshield survey test. We actually had a group where we were demoing some windshield survey software. So we were able to create a subgroup for that. But I want to show you this one where I've got Chatham CERT NC, the subgroup. Since we do have all of the tools, I'm going to scroll down here. You can see all the different tools that I have for the CERT NC. So we've got messages. And while this is a demo, I don't have anything set up here. Actually, let me go back and show you that real quick. Chatham CERT main. This is what it looks like for setting up for the messages. This goes out to everybody in the list because this is our master one. Of course, other subgroups might have other, well, subgroups, sublists. We can sort it by topics, messages expanded. We can show our polls. We can show the various hashtags that we may include in these. But it is just a simple, basic email message. There you go. It's a WYSIWYG. I know it's a term we don't use a whole lot anymore. What you see is what you get. So it actually sends out a nicely formatted message. If we want to go into the directory, I'll just flash that very quickly because I really shouldn't be showing who all is a member. But as you can see, you just get into a big list, and it's actually with the ability to import and export in a comma delimited file. It is very simple to manage those. So the subgroup CERT NC, one of the things I think that's so powerful with this is databases. So I've created 2 databases here, and one is a sample speakers bureau. So I've got half dozen or so entries for it, and this is what the database looks like. I am a database administrator. That was my career before I retired, but I actually found this so easy to use, I doubt anybody would really need training on it. I just set up each of these different columns. I set up who they were for, what the database, what the data type was in it. Let's see if I wanted to create a new entry. I want to show you how simple that is. So let's add a row to it. So I just select either an existing, here's one of the categories. So let's say it's a pandemic. The delivery for the Speakers Bureau, this is in person or virtually. It's a required field. I can choose one or both. Since it's required, I couldn't submit this without it. Your title, your speaker, your abstract, and that's it. So really very easy to use. I can click on anywhere in that row and it opens up for me I can even set it to attach files. So like I said, it's a very simple, very easy to use application. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing now because that's, stop sharing, big red button. That's why I didn't see it. Okay. Does anybody have questions about Groups.io?
I have a question.
Sure.
Is there a mobile version, or can you send text messages or only emails?
You can send text messages. The way we have set that up is there is an online tool that will allow you to send an email as a text message to someone's telephone number. And we simply set that up in the email address field for them. And that way you can set up an account with multiple email addresses, and that way they can get messages both ways.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Y'all have other questions for Andy?
Well, Sam, either I was so good that I answered all the questions before they came up, or yet again I put everybody to sleep. Not sure which.
Well, I can see some open eyes, so I think we're good. I don't think they're asleep. I know that y'all have been using this for some time, and you speak glowingly about it all the time. So it seems like it's worked really well for Chatham CERT.
It has. I believe the reason we're not using the database for the COVID response at this time is because we are trying to be very responsive to being able to add up the hours very quickly. And since we did not at the start of the COVID clinic emergency have that much experience with Groups.io, we went with an Excel spreadsheet by default. But we've already discussed how we're going to migrate that. Hopefully never, but if we have another incident, we'll go ahead and migrate that over to Groups.io because it really does make communication with the membership so much easier.
It looks like a really good communication tool.
It
That's
is. I have spoken to the Groups.io team and placed a request that they consider moderately high, and that is the ability to use it offline as well. They did not realize that the emergency community might be able to use something like this. And when I explained to them that some of our emergencies will be stuck in the field, uh, they realized the importance then of being able to have it as a remote tool as well. So that may be coming as a future feature.
interesting. Anybody else? Questions for Andy? No? You just explained it so well, Andy. They have no questions. So I do encourage you guys to go and check it out. I mean, it's just the website is groups.io. So, punch that in and check it out. And you can set up a free account and just kind of give it a test drive and see how you like it. And Andy, would you mind sharing in the chat like your email address? Like you're kind of a local expert on it if you're willing to help others if they have any questions on it.
Of course.
Thank you. There it is. So his email is in the chat. So check it out. Go to the Groups.io website and see how you like it. And you can always ask Andy if you have questions. Thank you so much, Andy. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
All right. So the last topic is I wanted to show you guys the terms response team application. So let me share, I have to find it, my screen, put it over on this monitor, doop, and share. Oh, and I need to take the, that's why. I want to be presenter. Well, I guess, there we go. Okay. I'm talking to myself, which is awkward when you're on a WebEx. Sorry about that, guys. Sometimes I just have to talk to myself to get through things. Okay. So I'm now sharing, everybody should recognize our old friend, the Terms website. And I know it is sort of one of those things that we have a love-hate relationship with, but It is what we use here at NCEM, so we do need to be a little bit familiar with it. As I said, we do have our CERT SOGs with our legal counsel right now, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to roll those out to you very soon. And part of that, we are going to talk about how we can deploy CERT members across the state. So, you know, if Miss Ann has a big happening down in Washington County and she needs more help than she can handle with her own wonderful CERT team that she has there, we can send people from Cape Fear or from you know, Lincoln County or anybody who's available to go down and help out in Washington County. It would be a long trip. But Kurt would do it. He would. He'd be there in a heartbeat if Ann needed him. I know he would.
Vacation.
Yeah, I know, right? So what I wanted to show you and what will be important in terms is that each of you and for your members as well, that your response profile is up to date. So I'm going to show you here now. I'm logged in as me, clearly. So when you're logged in, if you go to my account, and it's probably going to kick me out and make me log in again. Yep, hang on, because I knew it had been sitting here idle a while. So you click on my account, and you have two choices. You want to look at your personal profile or your response profile. Now, real quick, if you look at your personal profile, it is important to keep this up to date, especially make sure that your email address is correct and up to date. And if you know somewhere in here is where you can put your, here it is, your FEMA student ID number. And that way, if you take any of the online classes with FEMA, they will automatically come into your transcript here on terms. So do put your federal student ID number there from FEMA so that we can populate that on your transcript. But I really want to draw your attention today to your response profile. This is a little bit of a bear and it takes a little while to fill it out. But when you first come on here, each of these is going to have a red a red star next to it. And that means those things need attention, that they're not completed. So I don't have any red stars. So I have done all of these pages, but you need to go through each and every one of these pages and fill out like just your home address. That's simple enough, right? Your contact info for yourself, your deployment preferences. So you can say, where are you willing to be deployed? Only locally within the state? Are you willing to go out of state? How many days are you willing to be deployed? And you can put any number there that you want. How far from home are you willing to go? There's choices there that you can choose from. Would you consider volunteering to work under the federal government? Do you hold a passport? Do you have commitments that might pose a conflict? So anywhere you see those red stars, those are required answers. So you have to answer all of those. Then of course you have to have an emergency contact so we know who to call if, God forbid, if anything should happen to you. Driver's license, any languages, your own medical history. This one freaks people out because look how long it is. And they go, oh my gosh, I can never complete this. But what I want to show you is there are only 3 things that are required on this form. And that is, are you physically able to participate in field deployment? Do you have health conditions which might prevent you from deployment? If yes, describe. And do you require any reasonable accommodations to perform disaster-related duties? Yes or no. Only those top 3 are required answers. So this page looks really daunting because it's so long. And by all means, if you want to fill all this in, that's great with your blood type and your vaccine history and all this stuff. They probably need to put a line in here for COVID vaccine. I don't think they've added that yet. But if you want to add all this in, you certainly can. But only those top 3 up here with the red stars are required. But you do have to scroll all the way to the bottom in order to save this page. So make sure that you do hit the save button on that one. You would skip things like the DEA registration unless you happen to be a pharmacist and you have a DEA registration. But just make sure all of that is filled out so that when we're ready to deploy you, we have all of your information in one place. So remember, it's always easier to prepare before the disaster and do things ahead of time. So everybody tonight or tomorrow, go in and check your terms profile, get all of your CERT members for your local CERT to do this as well, and make sure that everything is up to date. So you want to see it with no red stars like this. And I know that terms can be really tricky. It's not the easiest program to navigate around. Please let me know if you have any problems because I work in it every day and I've been helping out a lot with the response profiles. with COVID response for medical volunteers and so forth. So I've gotten to know the response team part of it really, really well. So I'm very happy to help if anybody has any questions. So that was really all I wanted to say about terms for now. Of course, I think everybody knows the website. It's just terms.ncem.org. Y'all should all know how to get to terms. You need to come to terms with terms. So that's all I had to say about that. Thanks, Kurt. That looked really, really genuine. I appreciate that. So any questions specifically about terms at all?
Sam, in relation to this response team, are we just kind of getting ahead of the typing, resource typing that FEMA's doing?
Yes, and so that is going to be optional, but I would highly encourage anyone in North Carolina to do that. We all know that they move a little bit slowly. They are working on it now, and it's still in the comment period, or the comment period may have just ended. So they haven't really rolled it out yet. But what Andrew's referring to is the first responder website, which is part of FEMA that has all first responders in there. They're adding CERT as a credentialed first responder type within the one responder. I said first responder. It's called one responder, which is great. I think it gives us a lot of credibility as first responders ourselves that will be included in that database. So I hope by the end of this year, maybe that they would actually have that rolled out to the general CERT community, and I'll certainly keep you guys apprised of that. Thanks for that question, Andrew. Excellent question. Anything else just about terms before we just open it for general Q&A?
Yeah, Samantha, I have a question. I've had a couple of CERT members refuse to fill out the information in terms. How secure is that website?
It's very secure. It's the highest standards for, any other, it's as secure as anything else can be. We don't ask for super personal stuff. And even, I know if people don't like to put the last 4 digits of their social security number in there, you can put any 4 digits. It doesn't have to be the last 4 of your SSN. Any 4 digits that you'll remember. It could be the last 4 digits of your phone number. It's just something to identify you. So if I have 2 Lois Pensingers in there and I want to know which one are you, I can ask you what those 4 digits are, so you can help me figure out that I've got the right Lois. But it is, do you think that's what stops them, is the last 4 digits of their social? Or
yeah, that's out there, and the question was, how many people can see what they've been putting in there. Social security numbers can be hacked. Anything can be hacked. So I think there was a lot of concern there. And then I don't know if they filled out the first 3 questions or not, but the rest of it was like, I'm not putting my blood type in there, and some of the other questions.
So that's like for their safety, in case they had an issue where they needed blood, we would at least have a record of that, and to help out in response. So the only people who have access to see, like, I can go in and see them because I work in emergency management. I could go look at your personal profile and I can see anything that's in there, but nobody outside of emergency management has access to look at that personal information.
Okay, that clarifies that. Thank you.
It doesn't have to be the last 4 digits of their social, any 4 digits. And I think they did change that now because we pushed back on that. So if you go to the personal profile, it says last 4 of SSN or a PIN. It says or /PIN. So they added that on there for us. So it doesn't have to be your social.
Okay. Yeah.
Just any 4-digit number that you'll remember.
Okay. Thank you.
And Dave, I will ask the developers if they'll add Norwegian as a language. Since you asked.
Tusen takk.
You're welcome. I don't know how to say you're welcome in Norwegian. Anything else? Oh, okay. Yeah, spell that.
Just call him Cheesehead.
Cheesehead. Any other terms, questions?
Could you just repeat the email address again?
The website, here, I'll put it in the chat, and then you can copy and paste it.
Okay.
Yeah, terms.ncem.org. Great questions. Yes.
Sam, I sent you an email earlier about, do you think it'd be possible that we could host a 300 class?
Right. So I did see that you sent that, and I was not in the office today because I was doing a drill at the airport. But the short answer is it can be done. The longer answer is not through my office specifically, but we can make a request through the training branch to do it, because I only do CERT classes personally that I put in terms, but we can do a request through training, and I'll put you in touch with the folks who can make that happen. But I think that's a great idea. Offer. So what he was asking about is offering, it was 300 you were talking about, right?
Yeah, we're starting to make sure all the VOADs, Red Cross,
Yeah.
and DSS, and everybody, in addition to the first responders, get to 300 class now. So
Yep.
there's a push coming.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it's a wonderful idea. And I will, I'm going to leave that email up on my screen so it's the first one I see in the morning, so that I will respond to you. And I'm going to copy our training branch because they're the ones who actually make the ICS classes happen. Great question. All right, if you don't have other terms specific questions, the floor is open for any CERT questions that you might have. And if I don't have the answer, I will find it and get back to you. What have you guys got for questions? I hear crickets. No questions. Everything's going so great in the CERT community. That's awesome. I love that.
Ask how many people are actually working clinics.
Oh, I know a lot of people have been working clinics. Jay just walked by and he wants to know how many CERT programs are helping out with vaccine clinics. I know Albemarle is, Cape Fear, Washington, Lincoln. Yep, we see lots of hands going up. Alexander, are you guys helping with vaccines? Yep, you are too. Great. Yeah, Lee County. Yep, saw that. Hi, Penny. How are you there?
Robinson County.
Robinson, great. Yeah, a lot of people are doing it. So yeah, I'm hoping that you're keeping good records of your hours, and we're gonna get to where we're better about tracking all that. I'd really like to have a much better system in place before hurricane season. By the way, have y'all heard that they have moved hurricane season up? We used to say June 1st was the official start of hurricane season, and they have backed it up to May 15th. Yeah. Because so many storms were happening before the 1st of June. They were like, hurricane season really starts before June 1st. So that's right around the corner, you guys. So we got to get ready for hurricane season. Andy says over 100 volunteers have put in over 1,100 hours on clinics in Chatham County. That's fantastic. Good job, you guys. That's amazing. All right, y'all. Well, if you don't have any other questions, I really appreciate everybody taking the time to come tonight. It's good to see your faces. I wish I could see you all in person and actually hug you. That would be really nice. But someday after COVID, we'll all see each other again, and that will be awesome. Yes, fingers crossed, Dave. Yes, go ahead.
This is Keith with Morrisville, and Mike may have asked you this question, but a question on the hybrid training in the hands-on portion.
Yep.
Now, as I'm sure you're well aware of, there's a bit of a discrepancy or just difference between what the Utah team put together and what you have for the North Carolina one.
Yep.
And just wondering if that's kind of set in stone, or is there some flexibility on covering everything that you have listed on the North Carolina one in general?
So the Utah version, they still expect you to take 20 hours just to do the hands-on part. And I just felt like that was a little overboard. And so what I did was just pared it down to something that could be done in a single day, ideally. So we've done it 2 or 3 times now, and it's about 6 hours? Yeah, it takes about 6 hours to do everything on that list. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I'm just kind of specifically thinking like some of the things that look like it's a repeat of the classroom portion that kind of looks like, well, do we really need to recover this again if it's something that was covered in the online portion?
Are you talking about just some of the questions, like what are 3 types of disasters or something like that?
Yeah, stuff like that, or like the cold injuries and the and the hot injuries kind of stuff that you're not really doing
Right. Yeah,
any
so it is some
exercise.
review, but I just thought it was good to have a little review of some of those things. But yeah, Kurt, you want to say something?
That's what I was gonna say.
Mhm.
When I did it up in Nashville, I use that as review, just to kind of get everybody back in because they don't take the online class at the same time. So to get everybody back in the same mindset before you actually do a lot of the hands-on stuff.
I don't know, both Dave and I do the same thing, and there's always been
Yeah.
questions.
Will you say it? You're standing right here.
I didn't know.
Yeah, you're right here.
Oh, okay.
He's like, tell them.
I
this.
thought you were still on your headset.
No, see, I
Okay.
don't have hands.
No, Dave and I have both been doing it, and there have always been some questions referencing, what are the 3 types of disasters? Well, does this count? Yes, this counts.
Yeah.
But mostly the questions came in medical and sometimes in psychological. Be surprised. So yes, a full review is definitely good, and we do all the hands-on.
Yeah. Thanks, Jay. And I think too, if you're sitting home alone and you're doing the online training, there's nobody right there that you can ask a question to, right, while you're doing it. And so doing that review, I think is just really good because like Jay said, a lot of people do have questions and they're like, well, I didn't quite understand that when I did the online class. And can you explain that in a little more detail? So what did you have something that you were specifically not wanting to include or?
Well, to be honest, it was a little more just logistics. We're kind of getting ready to do our hands-on one next month.
Yeah.
And we've only kind of been able to lasso together 4 trainers to help out in the way. I think Mike again had previously mentioned this to you, but he's wanting to do something a little more of a, how do I want to say this? A rodeo port or a rotating stations.
Yeah.
And so there's like, it's been grouped together in different groups so that it matches the 4 of us, but there's definitely that medical one is heavy loaded and that'll take by far the longest amount of time compared to some of one of these other ones. So I'm kind of was challenging or looking, a little bit of opportunities to kind of cut back that medical one down a little bit. And that's why I kind of asked the question. Some of those were, a little more of a repeat.
It is heavier, and maybe what you could try is to split the medical in half and make it 2 stations. If you had enough instructors to do that.
And that was one thing we kind of explored.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. So, I mean, give it a try and see how it goes. And if it doesn't work well for you guys, we can always look at restructuring for the next time you try it.
Sure.
I mean, if that's something that you want to do. And so so someone asked in the chat about the simulated exercise. So that's done on a separate day. So we're just talking about the hands-on part. And then if you're able to do a full-scale exercise, then that would be done like on a second day.
Yeah.
Usually. Yeah. Good questions.
Okay.
I love it.
Thank you.
What else have you guys got for me? Anything great? No? All right. Well, cool. It was really good again to see everybody. And I love hearing what everybody is up to. So please keep sending me emails and pictures. And I always try to share those on the NC CERT Facebook page so I can brag on what all of y'all are doing because you're all doing such great stuff out there. And I'm just so thrilled with this CERT program. So please keep it up. Not saved to my computer yet. So Jay is wanting me to show pictures because we were at Raleigh-Durham Airport today doing their sky drill, and we had about 25 CERT volunteers out there who were victims of a plane crash. And so we had a fine time today, but I'll put some pictures on Facebook tomorrow. So you guys check it out. Statewide CERT badges. Yeah, we can do that. Especially if we're getting to where we're deploying folks across the state. I think having a state badge would be a great thing. And that's easy enough to do. Absolutely.
Out of curiosity, you mentioned the RDO sky drill. That obviously was scaled down from the last time they did it. Was that simply due to COVID? And obviously they ran it today on a Thursday instead of a Saturday, and everything seemed like it was scaled down. Did it have to do with the pandemic, or was it?
I don't think so. I didn't feel like it was scaled down that much. Did you think so? No, I mean,
it's actually scaled up.
yeah, there were a lot of responders out there.
Yes, the first
Well,
time-
last time we had like 100 plus victims, if you will.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't remember that there were that many. Yeah.
The test wasn't victims this time. The test was structure and response. That's what they were testing today, not of how many firefighters can and EMS can treat people. That was part of it, but it was more of overall response. And that's what they were trying to work on.
Okay.
So there you go. Maybe it's just because of what they were trying to test today.
Sure. Okay. Just
I
curious.
just know that they had asked me to get about 25 people, so
Okay. And was Mr. Music one of them?
he was.
Yes.
Okay. I thought I saw him. All right.
Yeah.
He had a piece of glass.
Yeah, he had a piece that we shoved a piece of glass in his head. So that was
excellent.
Jay is a moulage expert, by the way. So he's our resident makeup artist. He does that really well.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, go forth and prosper. I mean, keep doing what you're doing and keep me in the loop so I can brag on you. And I just love to hear all the good things that y'all are up to. So keep it up and take care and let me know what I can do to help. All right. Bye, everybody. Take care. Good to see y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, Veronica.
See you, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, Sam. Good night.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate your help.
Hey, Samantha.
Hey, Teresa. How's it going?
In here. I was like getting out of the office and then had to drive an hour home. So.
Oh, my goodness. That's a long drive.
Yeah, I do that every day. 2 hours round trip.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
So anyway, are you going to be available tomorrow for me to give you a call?
In the morning.
Or if you got a minute, we can talk right now.
Sure. I'm just